a queen bumblebee. I'm assuming she's a queen. She could give a damn that we're here. She's solely concentrated on feasting. That's exactly the reason why I put these strips in, just to provide that food, right? I'm considering cutting these strips because the oats in it's maturing and I want to get more value out of it. So the farmer and me, I'm gonna cut it and take it as feed. There's still flowers in there, so I'm just holding off a little bit more. The bees have pretty much used it. They don't need any more other than just going to fatten themselves up a bit, I guess. The Phacelia, you know, it's a little bit cooler. It's not as much attention put towards it. The sunflowers, I have a second flush of sunflowers coming through because I was so broad and generalized with my sowing. I just broadcast and tilled it in at early bloom, mid bloom, and now I still have, you can see sunflowers just starting to poke itself through there. That is important for native pollinators like that queen bumblebee, where she's just ready to prepare herself to, I guess in a sense, hibernate through winter, just fattening herself up. So I don't want to remove all these fresh flowers now when they're still using them, but we have to get on with things too, you know. So probably in the next week or so I'm going to come through, cut all this with a swather, let it dry down, bale it up, and then allow us to manage the land again, because that's the whole point, is just kind of feasting off the edges but not getting in the way. So I have to be able to cut this strip and utilize it. We'll utilize it for feed and then get it the hell out of the way so they can come in and do their land management when they manage the rest of the field. So we have to be very conscious on what we do here, not to get in the way of the one managing the field. Otherwise we'll just be a pain in the ass and there won't be any type of cooperation whatsoever. So it just goes to all together. We've utilized quite a bit of these strips for the pollen. I think we can be, you know, satisfied with the effectiveness of what we've provided here. So now it's time. We're shutting the bees down. Native pollinators are disappearing. You know, we are drifting into winter, and so we can act like it. So a yard of nukes that I've stripped the pails off earlier because they're holding themselves. They didn't want to plug them up too early, and they definitely need some feed. Oh, they're not too bad. They'll have 2.5 frames of feed in there by the feels of it, and I was just giving them space to be able to develop out that winter nest if they were so inclined to. Yeah, there's lots of weight in there. So they've had lots of opportunities, so now it's time to backfill them up. This yard I didn't call any out. Seems odd. If I find my mistakes, they'll show up through winter now. And we're feeding them these gallon pails. Slaving over the gallon pails. That's what we do. Probably hear the wind in the background. We're finally done combining canola, which is nice. So this wind doesn't irritate me quite as much, but it could probably just piss off any time now. Why not just give us a nice day? Yeah, they're heavy, but they need to be bulked up. There we go. The yard's looking good. I'll see if I can say this without the wind bothering the mic too much. Another gusty, windy day today. This is one of my bee yards alongside a little piece of, I wouldn't call it wasteland because it's just a little piece of wetland which can't be farmed. And I show this all the time just because it's such a valuable piece of property for my bees. You look at all the plant growth within here. The trees, the shrubs, the perennials, the annuals. And it's pretty much finished now. Goldenrod's pretty much done. Clover, for some reason, it really extended itself this year, but it's pretty much wrapped up. You know, Joe Pyeweed there, and some asters still blooming a little bit like that. So this little piece of land has provided my bees with tremendous nourishment, and now it's done. So now I can look at this and pretty much reflect directly what's going on in there. This is done. The food's gone. If there's no food, there's no brood. So the bees are pretty much done with their brooding. They're setting themselves up for winter, right? And that's when we start finding all this empty space within the nest, and that's when we start backfilling. In Manitoba here, our bees are extremely whipped to the seasons. And this is definitely a fall season. We have slipped straight into fall. You know, everything is kind of shutting down, the leaves are turning, and the bees respond directly to that. And as a manager of my apiary, I am whipped to those same conditions, and I manage my bees precisely to what's going on. Try to stand in the calm of the tree here. I get a lot of beekeepers email me and ask me, so what should I be doing? When should I be feeding? When should I be putting on supplement? When should I be managing these hives the same way you're doing? And you shouldn't be asking me those questions, because you in fact should know just by reading the environment around you. The environment is telling you what to do. Those bees are telling you what to do. So if you have to be able to make that connection. If you can dig down into that colony and see what's going on and connect it directly to what's going on around in the area, then you're going to be able to make that connection and then manage your bees accordingly and be right on top of the job, just like that. When things happen, when things need to be done, when things switch gears, you can, switch the gears in your management to directly reflect what's going on out here. Because there's no sense in beekeepers trying to manage our hives fighting Mother Nature all the time. We, in a way, we complement her, we work with her. These bees, they're a direct reflection of the environment around us, of what's happening within Mother Nature. So that's our job as beekeepers, just to try to recognize what's going on and put those efforts into our hives just to promote the brilliance within our stock. Just like it's very natural for beekeepers, I see this a lot, and I fall into the same kind of category also. We're managers of operations, we're farmers, we're making money because we're producing, we're raising these hives in a sense like livestock, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just the way it is. We manage all the conditions to be able to extract revenue off these colonies, just as every other farmer. And we build process, we build systems, we're bringing equipment, we hire manpower, all these logistics that come together to be able to allow us to do what we're doing within our apiary. There's a problem that occurs with that as we get so caught up in managing our hives and managing our stock that we actually, in a sense, forget the very basics of our business. The very essential basic. And it's not disease or queens or syrup, it's flowers. Flowers is our business. Everything around the flower is our bees, right? And we can't forget that. And I think beekeepers need to put a little more effort into, stepping back from this whole process, their entire everything that's going on, and look at that very basic, which drives absolutely everything within these colonies, and that's the flower. And as beekeepers, we love driving our trucks and our forklifts and easy loader arms and extractors and barrels of honey and semis, but we need to get down to the very basic of the flowers, and we need to promote more of that. It's our job as a beekeeper to be able to realize the abundance out there and then be able to extract it. We need to be able to promote more flowers across this countryside. We put so much attention towards hive health and all these factors that are outside our reach that's influencing our colonies, but we're not putting hardly any attention towards promoting more flowers across the countryside. And this isn't something that somebody else is going to do for us. We as beekeepers have to, take the initiative as individuals in an organized collective and move a campaign forward to be able to promote more habitat right across the countryside. And that's a direct responsibility of each and every one of us to make that effort, to push that campaign forward, get out there and lobby for more flowers. More flowers, more nourishment, healthier bees, more money. It goes right down to the very basic. And that very basic exists in little places like this. Little set-aside plots of land. The waste of time project that I'm doing with these little pollinator projects, growing phacelia and sunflowers and just scraps of flowers right across the farm that we couldn't use. A lot of beekeepers don't have access to lands like that, but what beekeepers can maybe grab a hold of is all that land along roadways. Maybe promote more tree rows, promote initiatives that preserve more wetlands. We can get extremely creative and we can collaborate with cattlemen associations and get more standing flowers within their grass stands, because it benefits the producer either way. Better for the soil, more forage, and more habitat for pollinators. There's all these little initiatives, little bits, little pieces all across the countryside, little efforts. It takes a lot of effort. Just making those little efforts go a long way to preserving everything, preserving our livelihood, but preserving that little place in nature that everybody wants. And if society actually gave a damn, then they would, allow us and help us push this campaign forward, and there should be no problem whatsoever. So that's just a little bit, that's what I'm all on about all the time. As managers, we focus so much on managing our colonies, managing our stock, but we can't forget that the very basic to our management is flowers.